I'm in Open Souls, obviously performing at London Jazz Festival, and it's a project which encompasses myself, Ranjana and Seb Rochford on drums. And for us it's a really exciting project because it brings together our love and inspiration of Indian classical music along with a range of genres and sort of sound influences that we've got from experimental vocal sound design through to full-on beats, and also translating Indian rhythm onto drums, and obviously with Ranjana doing what she does vocally, just sort of bringing together almost like a whole new sound for us, really, that we've run in three different projects as three different musicians, but sort of bringing it into one cohesive environment where we just explore all sorts of things from ambient textures right the way through to full-on beats, and different time signatures and different influences.
Yeah, and it's something that we've done for the first time, but it feels very natural. We kind of came together last year, and it just came through having a jam together and kind of listening to what we were creating, and it felt like something that felt very real and natural, and we wanted to explore more.
Absolutely.
So we're really excited to be playing at the London Jazz Festival and to be performing together. So there are particular techniques and practices that you can do to create the Indian sound through the voice. One of the key characteristics of the music is very rounded. So that's created through practicing long notes, which creates stillness in the voice. In a alap section, which is an introductory section of classical music, there's a lot of long notes within that, so that practice enables that movement to happen. Then scales, which creates definition in the voice, and then other techniques and practices which create that movement. And then when learning different ragas and scales, you discover new parts of your voice. We also use the natural voice when singing. We don't use the head voice as much, so that's one of the key differences that you may hear.
I've always had a love of using the voice outside of singing and speaking. I've always had an interest in sound and strange textures and atmospheres and sound effects. So it's been from a very, very early age. I was really heavily influenced as a kid by Michael Winslow from Police Academy. When I saw them films, it was just amazing to see another human being sort of like making them sounds with their voice. So from a sort of a sound design and sort of experimental sound effects perspective, I've always been influenced since a kid, really. And then sort of having a love for percussion and rhythm, I just naturally sort of went from drums and percussion to vocal beats, and now it's a kind of an ongoing process of just developing more sounds and a range of sounds and textures, but also using a voice to create environments that are sort of not traditionally associated with beatboxing, but sort of trying to encompass it all into the art form, because I just think it's really important for me to develop as many different sounds, natural and artificial, as well as beats and percussive styles from around the world. So it's a sort of a holistic process of bringing all sorts of sounds together under this banner of beatboxing. But it's an ongoing process, and the minute you sort of think that you've perfected a sound, you'll hear somebody else do something, you're like, oh my gosh, right, I want to try that. So it's ongoing, it's lifelong.